Hi there, Dina Falconi here, herbalist, educator, author of Foraging and Feasting and Earthly Bodies and Heavenly Hair. And what is the theme of today's lesson? It is answering the question, what do I do when I get a poison ivy rash? What are you going to do? And I am walking through a corridor of the plant that I'm going to introduce you to. That's one of my favorites for poison ivy rashes. And by the way, if you're interested in this sort of thing, you might want to check out my online course, Wild Food Health Boosters and Herbal Remedies. Back to this theme though, it is Agastache, Nepetoides of the Lamiaceae family. We have here Yellow Giant Hyssop, this Native American perennial that's amazing for preventing poison ivy rashes and also for treating them. In terms of preventing poison ivy rashes, I suggest you check out the jewelweed video. We'll provide the link in the text below. And that'll show you the technique for how to apply a mash. You want to wet your plant material and apply it thoroughly after you've been exposed to poison ivy, but before the rash appears. Okay, so let's say now you forgot to do that and you're just breaking out. Uh-oh, big issue here, right? And this is when this plant, Agastache Nepetoides, Yellow Giant Hyssop, shines. What does this plant do? It's astringent, it's drying, and so what you're going to do again is you're going to create a mash of the plant material. You're going to really crush it up, and you are going to get the juiciness of the plant. You're going to get the juices out and apply that to the rash, and then it's going to relieve the itch and dry it up. If you need a lot of this plant material, I suggest that you actually use a food processor. You might add a little bit of water and you're going to puree it, and then you can either squeeze all the juices out of that plant mash, or you actually use the plant as well along with its juices. The question would be whether it's irritating to you or not. So you could, again, choose to use just the juice or use the plant and juice on your skin. Other things to consider though is that you're going to be very green. You're going to look green, your skin, and you're going to leave it on. You're not going to wash it off, and you're going to reapply it through the day. So you're drying up poison ivy rash. What else to say? Yes, don't rub the plant onto your skin. What you're doing is you're making a very wet mash, and you're going to dab very gently but thoroughly the juices all over your skin. Got that? So meaning wherever the rash is, not all over your skin, but where the rash is breaking out. So this is an amazing ally for dealing with poison ivy rashes, to help dry them up, relieve the itch. Okay, let's talk about how you're going to identify this plant. How are you going to know you have the right plant? And it is all around me, and also it is right there. And I'd like for you to see this up close as well. And you can see here that it's in flower stage. So this one you can see has beautiful flower spikes, and the flowers are a yellow-white, and they are blooming all around the spikes here. And what else? And these spikes are found at the terminal end of the branches or of the plant. Notice the tubular, small, 1/3 of an inch flower. This tubular, mouthy flower, typical of the Lamiaceae family. Yellow giant hyssop's height can go up to 7 feet. Typically in this area, I see it around 6 feet, sometimes as low as 4 feet or so. And the width of it is about 2 feet wide. Let's give you a sense of the plant's growth. We're gonna scan it, and we are looking at a very sturdy central stem here. It is square, I'll show you that in a moment, and then we begin to hit the leaves, which have long leaf stalks or petioles, and we just keep going up so you can see. And we actually have opposite leaf arrangement that you can see here. the opposite leaf arrangement, and the plant starts to branch out up here. And so here we keep going and hit the terminal flowering spikes. So you can see those. Leaf shape of Yellow Giant Hyssop. Here is the upper aerial leaf toward the top of the plant. Here is a leaf toward the bottom, a lower leaf. Both of them, you can see, have pointy tips. The leaf of the aerial leaf starts to get narrower and more lanceolate, and the lower leaves are more ovate. That's the shape. Let's also just look at the leaf margins. They both have serrations, so we see forward pointing teeth on the leaf margins, and we have these nice leaf stalks, these petioles. Here we have the underside of the leaf, and you can see that it's lighter. By the way, this leaf has been bitten by an insect. Don't be confused. Okay, I want to show you this plant in its younger stage. It's more medicinal stage, actually. So let's look at that now. Here we have Yellow Giant Hyssop, nowhere near as a giant yet. This is toddler, so a few months old really, and I want to pluck a leaf off so you can just see what that leaf looks like at this stage. A little bit more heart-shaped here. Toddler leaf. Here's a close-up of the square stem, so you can see that. And at the edges here of this square stem, there's a little bit of overhanging plant tissue that are called wings. I'm not sure you can see that, but when you inspect this plant, you'll feel it here. More about ideas, texture. So you want to feel the plant, and it feels pretty smooth, but a little bit fuzzy and sometimes a little coarse. So that's not such helpful idea, is the texture, because it's a bit varied. It's certainly not super fuzzy though, or anything like that. And then let's talk about smell. So let's give a little whiff. And we get really, it's a pretty subtle aroma. It's not a highly aromatic plant. So this is a very mild plant, and I know this plant, so I feel safe enough to taste it. And it is not a very flavorful plant. It is astringent and drying, mildly aromatic, slightly bitter. So that is the, so just so you have that in your mind, that you're with a Lamiaceae plant, but that's actually quite mild in flavor and mild in aroma. Now I want to get to the harvesting. And what you would be using is the leaves, and then these young plants are actually, you can use the tender stem of that as well. With the more mature plants, you're plucking off leaves, and if the stem feels juicy, you can use it, but this seems too tough. So this is your medicine right here. This is the part you're going to use, that you're going to crush up and mash and express the juice from and put onto your poison ivy rash. Got that? Okay. Let's also talk about where you're going to find this plant. I happen to have introduced this plant to this landscape, but it is native to North America, to Southeast Canada, to Central, Eastern United States. It grows in hardiness zones 2 to 8. So you have a native American plant. Look into it for you in your area, because it could become invasive. I have introduced this, and it does like to spread itself about. And I feel mostly by seed is what I've seen, and it can be aggressive. So you need to control it depending on how you want it in your landscape. I have it right by my front door because I really appreciate it, and I will use it. I will use those leaves and wash my skin if I've been in contact with poison ivy. But if I forget to do that and I end up with a rash, then I'm going to use the juice of this plant to dry that rash out as a poison ivy remedy. So that is Yellow Giant Hyssop. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Yes. Where does this like to grow in terms of habitat? And we are in a part shade to part sun, pretty rich soil. This likes moist to mesic soil. Mesic means medium moisture, in part sun to part shade, and you're going to look for it in woodland edges, in woodland clearings, or in gardens. And that is a wrap on the Yellow Giant Hyssop. May you have a poison ivy free summer. If you enjoyed this, I invite you to check out my course, Wild Food Health Boosters and Herbal Remedies, at wildfoodhealthboosters.com. See you next time.